Over the years, Five Nights at Freddy's has made an effort at creating some of the biggest mysteries in all of gaming that have left Freddy's fans scratching their heads even 10 years later. Some of these mysteries, like what's in the box and what actually happened in Midnight Motorist, were actually solved by various parts of FNAF's 10th anniversary. But there's still one mystery that's left theorists stumped for nearly 7 years, and that's the Survival Logbook. Approximately 7 years ago, mere weeks after the release of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, came the Survival Logbook as an in-universe security logbook previously owned by Michael Afton, filled with quizzes, activities, and most importantly, a secret conversation. Throughout the pages of the logbook, readers can notice faded writing, usually asking questions like, "What do you remember?" and "Do you have dreams?" appearing to be the writings of a mysterious spirit using the book to communicate. Even more importantly than what the spirit asks is actually the one line they write repeatedly throughout the book, being "my name." My name at first appeared on various pages like 52, 39, and 17, but astute theorists noticed pretty quickly that these weren't actually the page numbers. These are actually pages 29, 32, and 43. However, those numbers don't actually matter for what the spirit's trying to tell us. On page 29, not only is its page number mysteriously changed to 52, but my name is actually pointing right at it, suggesting that these numbers might have something to do with the spirit's name. Beyond these page numbers, the book also has a few other more random number sequences, some being more altered numbers akin to the page numbers, parts of the book's art, or even written by Mike himself. Here are all the my name numbers, which when processed correctly, appear to be coordinates you'd input into a grid to get this spirit's name. These coordinates are 52, 39, 15, 72, 93, 1011, and 811. Nearly 7 years ago, this code was partially put together in Game Theory's video about the Survival Logbook, but that's where they got stuck. They had the nearly complete set of coordinates, but didn't know how to use them, which is why this initial video was actually asking the FNAF fandom to try and solve this thing themselves. That's where DPowerful1 came in on Reddit, discovering the final missing coordinate from the comic strip and plugging the full coordinate set into the word search, revealing the name Cassidy. With the Survival Logbook releasing shortly after Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, with that game's final secret being the name of the fifth missing child, fans were able to quickly confirm that we were finally given the name of the spirit inside Golden Freddy. This would later be confirmed correct when a girl named Cassidy appeared in the fourth closet, instead possessing Bonnie in that universe. Even the Freddy files came to slowly confirm this as fact through its many additions, telling fans that to uncover the secret of the hidden grave, they should check out the Survival Logbook. In short, it's confirmed that the spirit in Golden Freddy is a girl named Cassidy, who bears striking resemblance to this kid in the very same Survival Logbook. Though even if we'd solved the logbook's big secret, fans were convinced our work wasn't quite done. Remember, Cassidy wasn't just writing faded messages, but asking questions, and these weren't targeted at Mike. Cassidy starts off pretty vaguely, with questions like, "What do you remember?" and "What do you see?" But she begins to get pretty specific with questions like, "Is this song familiar to you?" and "Was your favorite ride the carousel?" It becomes pretty clear through the one and only statement Cassidy makes in the book, "The party was for you," that this whole time, Cassidy was talking to the crying child, another spirit using the logbook to communicate. The crying child actually responds to this statement, altering the book's text itself to realize the party was for him. This reveal makes some of Cassidy's earlier questions make a lot more sense. Do any of these toys look familiar to you? Was your favorite childhood toy a plastic purple telephone? Does he still talk to you? These are all things very specific to the crying child, though there's one more question about him that's led to this final mystery. What is your name? Although we found Cassidy's name using the word search, theorists assumed that based on this question and remaining loose ends in the logbook, like the telemarks and Foxy grid, that it might also be possible to find the crying child's name and not just Cassidy's. One of these loose ends theorists first picked up on were the crying child's responses at the end of chapters 4 and 5, keyword being responses. The crying child says, "I can hear sounds and it was for me," and then "I can't see and I'm scared." Let's take "it was for me" 3, which is a clear response to the party was for you, which is on page 103. Like with the Cassidy code, we'll take 103 and turn it into 10-3 as one of our coordinates. We'll do the same thing with what do you see on page 59, which clearly pairs up with I can't see, giving us 5-9 as another coordinate. Then pair up does he still talk to you on page 75 with I can hear sounds, giving us 7-5. This is the set of coordinates used by Entom and Wolfie Kingdom on Reddit 4 years ago, hoping to discover the name of the crying child by plugging these into the Foxy grid, another of the logbook's loose ends. But before they could do that, they'd need one more coordinate. To get this final coordinate, the pair would add up all of Mike's tally marks to get 39, and then add the 5 and 3 seen on the Screws, Bolts, and Hairpins magazine Foxy reads at the very start of the book, totaling 47. Using the coordinates 7-5, 10-3, 5-9, and 4-7 on the Foxy grid, they found the name Evan. To this day, Evan Afton has been accepted by many fans as the canon name of the crying child. But does this name really hold up after all this time? In short, no, not a bit. The method used to get this name actually does check out pretty well at first, using the page numbers of questions the crying child responds to as coordinates. However, it falters with its final letter. While it would make sense to try and tie in the tally marks to the logbook's final mystery, involving the tally marks is actually where this solution falters. It makes no sense for the methodology of using question page numbers to suddenly change on the very last coordinate, and even less sense to add the numbers from Screws, Bolts, and Hairpins to the tally marks total when they don't appear to be part of any actual code. Evan Afton is most certainly not the solution to the logbook and the crying child's name. So what else can we do to try and solve this thing? Well, that's where Hyperdroid comes in, another FNAF theorist here with me on YouTube who agreed that the Evan solution didn't use a consistent method. Specifically, it used 3 of the crying child's responses, but chose to ignore the 4th one, being I'm scared. To create a consistent method, he paired up I'm scared with another one of Cassidy's questions, being do you have dreams on page 41, giving him 4-1 as his final coordinate. By plugging this new, more consistent set of coordinates into the Foxy grid, he got EVAD, which doesn't look like much at first glance, but it takes the logbook's final loose end to make a lot more sense. Some fans may have noticed that there are a surprising amount of pages that mention reflection or reflecting, with the page across from the word search even featuring a mirror. If we take this element of reflection and reflect EVAD from the Foxy grid, we are given Dave, Hyperdroid's new solution to the survival logbook nearly 7 years later. Unlike Evan, the name Dave already has a lot more going for it in the FNAF franchise, being the alias for William Afton in the novel trilogy, the name of Edwin Murray, the creator of the Mimic's deceased son, and a name that even appears on the drawing wall in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So, like with Evan, let's check if Dave really works as a solution. Is the crying child's name really David Afton? And the answer is still no. While Dave is 100 times better than Evan because all 4 of its coordinates use a consistent method, there's still what I believe to be a major flaw in its methodology. Let's look back at those initial question-answer pairings. We can see that the party was for you and I can't see pair up undeniably well with their final questions. Those, I believe, are solid. However, it's the other 2 questions that are the problem. Very simply, something like does he still talk to you doesn't pair up perfectly with I can hear sounds. They're both definitely connected by hearing things, be it talking or just sound, but that's a degree of separation more than our previous 2 answers. I can hear sounds just isn't the way someone would normally answer that kind of question. This same issue is even worse when it comes to I'm scared as a response to do you have dreams. Plainly, these 2 things just don't have anything to do with each other. They're just too many degrees of separation apart. An answer that might make a little more sense would be something like I have nightmares, and then from there you could acknowledge that he'd be scared, but that's not what he says here. These 2 just don't fit together in that way. Additionally, this solution just doesn't seem to have a reasonable explanation for the tally marks, which seem like a way more obvious element to a potential code or puzzle than pairing up question responses and using their page numbers. Yet, they still go unused. Unless they're a huge mistake of a red herring on Scott's part, they're a big part of the logbook to not have an explanation for. So no, I don't think the crying child's name is David Afton, but But with all that being said, I think it'd be good to do a recap of all the remaining loose threads in the survival logbook in hope of finding out how to actually solve this thing. First of all is the crying child's responses, which have been a key element to most modern methods for solving the survival logbook. When I look at the crying child's responses, I don't think I see 4 responses to 4 of Cassidy's questions, but actually only 4 responses to 2 questions. Look at I can hear sounds and it was for me. I don't see this pair as the crying child answering 2 separate questions, but these as 2 separate answers to one statement, being the party was for you. Perhaps in being reminded of the memory of his party, he can initially hear the sounds of that day before recognizing that the party was indeed for him, making them 2 connected statements. Same thing goes for I can't see and I'm scared. To me, these don't look to be 2 separate responses, but 2 parts to the same sentiment. What can you see? And I can't see, which makes me scared. If Cassidy asked him if he could see, he would answer that he can't see, but it's that very notion of him not being able to see that would make him scared, not some dream or nightmare. While that would make his responses make much more sense, it would also eliminate half of the potential coordinates we were using in the Evan and Dave solutions by eliminating their questions. This did make me consider the potential use of the page numbers of these chapter end responses as coordinates instead, being pages 89 and 109, which might be a good thing to check out. Additionally, we should almost certainly be looking far closer at the tally marks for a potential code than anything else. The tally marks are undeniably one of the logbook's most plain as day hints, however what they're supposed to be hinting at is still a mystery. The problem is that unlike the logbook's various numbers, which are all pointed out by the my name faded text, there's basically nothing that hints at how the tallies are actually supposed to be used. Since they're written by Mike, and we have the unused Foxy grid with Mike being consistently connected to Foxy throughout the book, then maybe that's a hint that they're supposed to be plugged into the Foxy grid. I honestly think that makes the most sense in all this, but the problem is the tally marks alone are not coordinates to a grid. They're only single digits without another half, and I have no clue what the other half could be. But all that hasn't stopped me from trying. In the making of this video, I have created 4 different grids, both normal and reflected, and applied 8 different potential codes, all reflected in upwards of 4 different ways, giving me more than 200 different results. And I have nothing to show for it. Brute forcing codes on grids hundreds of times has given me nothing, so unfortunately I have to end this video off empty-handed. I don't think Dave is the crying child's name, but at the same time I don't have a better alternative, though that doesn't mean I'm done trying. In the same way that game theory did nearly 7 years ago, I'm once again challenging you, the FNAF fandom, to give this thing one last shot. But this time I'll be helping out. I've created a webpage on my personal website containing the various grids I've used, both normal and reflected, as well as a complete visual guide to the nearly 200 tries I took at cracking this thing so you won't make the same mistakes as me. I'll also link a ton of useful resources, including links to various logbook videos, old Reddit posts, and even a download for a PDF of the survival logbook, scanned from my very own copy in all its HD glory. You can use this thing as your one-stop shop for attempting to solve the logbook completely free of charge, so make sure to check it out, linked in the description. So until one of you figures this thing out, that was why the survival logbook still isn't solved. By the time this video drops, I'll be headed off to my local convention, so until the next video, take care and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.